topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
What's working on purpose anyway? Each week, we ponder the answer to this question. People ache for meaning and purpose at work, to contribute their talents passionately and know their lives really matter. They crave being part of an organization that inspires them and helps them grow into realizing their highest potential. Business can be such a force for good in the world, elevating humanity. In our program, we provide guidance and inspiration to help usher in this world we all want, working on purpose. Now, here's your host, Dr. Elise Cortez.
Welcome back to the Working on Purpose program, which has been brought to you with passion and pride since February of 2015. Thanks for tuning in this week. Great to have you. I'm your host, Dr. Elise Cortez. Most leaders are sitting on untapped human energy and capability. I help them unlock it. I'm an organizational psychologist, workforce advisor, Vistage chair, and the founder of the Gusto Now movement. But the title I live by each day is much simpler. I traffic in energy. Not the surface level motivation or another engagement initiative, but the deeper force, what I call gusto, the life force for performance that drives commitment, perseverance, and genuine ownership of a shared mission in the clients we serve. You can learn more about us and how we can work together at gusto-now.com or my personal site, elisecortez.com, for information on speaking and books. With us today is Jody Thompson. She is the founding principal of Culture RX, based in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and a widely recognized voice on the future of work. She is known for helping companies rethink workplace culture, leadership, and performance in ways that drive stronger results and lasting change. She is the co-author of 2 books on modern management and workplace performance. They include Why Managing Sucks and How to Fix It, and Why Work Sucks and How to Fix It, The Results Only Revolution, which we'll be talking about today. Specifically, we'll be talking about the pervasive mindset that keep us stuck in the arena of work that sucks and the results-only work environment that she and her team champion to help companies and their people stop playing the soul-sucking game of work and move toward trust and accountability to produce results. She joins us today from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Jody, a hearty welcome to Working on Purpose.
Elise, it's great to be here today and talk about this subject because I know it's still relevant. You know, it's been relevant for the last 25 years, and we just have to keep making change.
We do, and you were such a fantastic champion to do that. I so aligned with your book, Oh, and I got to tell you this, Jody. A lot of because I do read my guest books cover to cover every single week, and then I take about 25 to 40 or 50 pages of typewritten notes, which is research for me and, all this kind of good stuff. I do a lot of the reading when I'm at the gym on the stationary bicycle. So I bring this book in, I think it was over the weekend. And I just start to set it down. And so this man sees this, and he comes screaming across the way at me. He goes, "That's me. That's me." I'm like, "What? Your work sucks?" He goes, "Yeah."
You know what? A lot of people say work sucks. And it's funny because that title really it energized a lot of people, but it also, frankly, pissed off a lot of people.
Yeah, well, I'm really, delighted to have you on. As we spoke before the break, you and I have been connected for quite some time. I follow your posts, I align with your posts, and I too am out to help organizations create what we call destination workplaces instead of the soul-sucking experience that it is for so many people. And so I want to start with your simple premise in your book. And, let's talk about the fact that your book was written the first time in 2008. So not like we're talking about something that came out last year. You've been working on this for a while. But the simple premise is based on our beliefs about work, that 40 hours, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, they're so outdated, outmodeled, and out to lunch, as you say. And there are waste of people's time, their lives, their energy, and it's based on assumptions about work and how it gets done that doesn't fit today's 24/7 economy. So, if we just start right there, and I definitely want to spend some time chewing on this because this mindset is the undergird of all of this.
Well, it really is a cultural mindset that we've held since the 50s, and that time plus presence equals results. So what we manage to the time clock, and we manage to where people are working from. And that right there, that foundation is the problem. That's the challenge that we have to overcome. So even though I might say, oh, work wherever you want, oh, I don't really count your hours, everybody's talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I need to know if you're not going to come in the office. And, you really should come in the office at least twice a week. And all that conversation is not based on the actual work or what I expect from you in terms of results. Or to your point, Elise, are you connected to the purpose of the organization? We don't really care about that as long as you're in Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then you can work from home Monday and Friday.
Yeah. And what I really also appreciated too, and I think you're episode 602, but this whole notion, I love that you're a future of work specialist. And when you think about it too, you say in your book that, and most tragically of all of us, both leaders and those of us working in organizations too, we play the game. We've learned to play the game, and we've accepted this as the norm. This is how, and we judge, which we'll get into later, other people who aren't playing the game.
Oh, absolutely. We're all playing the game. I mean, it's things like, many years ago, what we used to do is we used to leave our coat on our chair, right? So it looks like we're still there. It's really like small things that we do every day that are just kind of silly. But the reason we do them is because we know that that's going to be something that makes us look good, or maybe we're promotable then. So we keep playing that game, and we expect others to play it as well, because nobody really wants to be off culture, right? We all want to kind of fit in and all that kind of stuff. So the games they're kind of demoralizing, because we know when we're playing those games, we don't feel good about it, right? We don't feel good about, trying to get in the office before everybody else, or trying to be on, like trying to have our green light on, or whatever that looks like in teams. It's all about looking like you're working.
Right. Instead of producing actual results.
Right. And, it sounds so simple, Elise, but I think what we came upon when we were conceptualizing this at Best Buy was nobody was really, they were talking about the work, but it was all around, how many hours you work and when you're coming in, and, why did somebody leave early, and all of that stuff is in the way. And so when we talk about, for example, autonomy, mastery, and purpose, which Dan Pink wrote about in his book Drive, we cling to the hope that if we have purpose and we understand our jobs, that'll motivate us enough. But the one thing that was missing that we discovered was the idea of autonomy. And I will say this, flexibility is not autonomy.
Right.
Flexibility is built on a box of 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, or whatever that looks like, right? That's the box. And then we create programming around that to give people permission to kind of go outside that box. Now, autonomy is not permission-based. Autonomy is every single day and every minute of all the time, I control my time. I don't have to ask permission. I don't have to tell anybody where I am. And that opens up sort of a big thing about, well, do people know what they're doing? Yeah, if I don't see you in the office, I don't think you know what you're doing, but I think that I see you and that you look like you're working, so therefore you must be doing something. So I think that was the scary thing for management when we first started this is, well, if I can't see people, how will I know they're working? And today it means seeing like this or in an office. And if I can't see you, how do I know?
Right. Management by presenteeism.
Yeah, well, how do you know now? I mean, just because people are in the office, it doesn't mean results are being achieved. So that opens up kind of a big scary thing, as you know.
Yeah, I mean, I know plenty of people, and you and I both know plenty of people that are fully in the office, but they're right there in front of you, working on their vacation, planning the whole thing out, contacting the travel agencies and such. They're not working. They're just present for you, or with you, maybe is a better way to say it.
Time. Yep, it's presenteeism. It's filling time, and people aren't productive every minute of the day. And if we focused on the actual work, like, are you achieving the results that we agreed upon? Why does it matter if I'm planning my vacation?
Right, exactly. Right.
Why does it matter if I'm, taking a nap on a Thursday afternoon? Why does it matter if I'm coming at 10 and leave at 11? I mean, why does that matter if, in fact, I'm accountable and showing results.
Right. And you can trust me to deliver those results.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's not trust me, you know, you have to earn my trust and then I'll let you.
Right.
That's
that word
not-
let bothers me terribly.
Me too.
Don't get my shackles up, Jody. Okay.
That's right.
So one of the other things I want to get to, because I think this will help our listeners and viewers understand why this is such a problem. You talk about in your book that there are two forces pushing on people, demands and control. And you talk about when you have, the high demands and the high control, this isn't the sweet spot. So if you could say a bit more about those two forces pushing on people and why they're so important to manage.
Well, that is very important because if you have high demands in your life, meaning work, children, family, friends, all the things in your life, grocery shopping, sleeping, all of it, high demands and low control, that's a high stress situation. So what we need to do is and this has been proven through social science, is raise our level of control to the highest possible level so we can meet all the demands in our lives, needs and wants. Mm-hmm. But what happens is when we can't meet, we're just trying to meet our needs and we need to meet needs and wants, what usually falls away? What we want to do in our lives. Mm-hmm. We have to wait till we retire because we have to, be able to sleep and feed our families and all those things. And we don't have any time for, knitting or riding our bike or, reading or whatever that is we want to do because we have this guilt associated with, I have to sort of give up myself, mm-hmm. to give time. Even if I'm not producing results, I have to give somebody my time. We need to raise people's level of control to the highest possible level. Everybody, every job, no matter what it is, so that if people have purpose and they understand their job and they know what their outcome is and they are clear about it, we don't have to manage people.
Right. And so in our parlance, Jody, if we can give people more control over their lives and their time, what happens is we unleash more of that beautiful, productive energy that they can use to be productive, to produce results, to come alive and, animate the purpose of the organization. And let me give an example too, just listeners and viewers, when she said, high demand, low control, I want you to think of some scenarios like people that have maybe they're caring for their parents, or they've got children that they're caring for, and they've got to get them to and from school. Those are high demands, and they work for an organization that insists that they are in the office Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. That is a very low control situation, and how many people are fleeing those situations. So I wanted to be sure and frame that, and people so people can feel this and really relate to it, because I want this to change too, Jody. And you're our ticket, so let's get to it already.
Let's make it happen. Why people are stressed out on a Sunday night. Mm-hmm. Because they know starting Monday morning, they have lost control. They have less control over their needs and wants and things they have to do to take care of their lives. And it's very stressful to have that feeling for however many hours a week. You can be sitting in your cube or you can be in an office and say, I don't really have anything I have to do right now, but I just sit there.
This is your one precious life, by the way.
Yeah.
This is your one precious life. You're sitting there. And what you said it so beautifully in your book is that then your life is governed by the time clock.
Absolutely. It's totally governed by that. And in so many areas of our life, that clock is how we manage everything. But when you're in a situation where you have autonomy, time takes on a whole different meaning.
Absolutely. You relate to it so much more differently and beautifully and productively. So what I'd love to do next is I'd love to have you introduce the results-only work environment approach philosophy, and then later I want to talk about where it actually came from. So what's a results-oriented work environment for those of people who, like me, I've already read the book, they haven't.
So the results-only work environment is built on autonomy and accountability. So every single person has 100% autonomy and every single person has 100% accountability. And when you have that kind of culture in perfect balance, that's where the organization thrives. That's the sweet spot. So for managers, it's always that push and pull between, do people understand the measurable results of their position? And are people autonomous? Not me giving them permission, but that they're so clear about their role and what they need to do that they communicate with each other, they work when they need to. Basically each person is free to do whatever they want, whenever they want, as long as the work gets done. And you would think that would cause complete chaos. But it's something that it's attainable, not perfectly. It's just always a striving to, is everybody accountable for the right thing? And am I managing the work, not the people?
Yes.
Managing
Beautiful.
the work, not the people.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now let's let our listeners and viewers just think about what we've been talking about so far. Why work sucks, the idea of what we're giving of our full entire lives to be able to plug ourselves into it, and the possibility of this results-only work environment. And let's take our first break. I'm your host, Dr. Elise Cortez. We've been on the air with Jody Thompson. She's the founding principal of Culture RX, based in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and a widely recognized voice on the future of work. We'll be right back.
Dr. Elise Cortez is a management consultant specializing in meaning and purpose, an inspirational speaker and author. She helps companies visioneer for greater purpose among stakeholders and develop purpose-inspired leadership and meaning-infused cultures that elevate fulfillment, performance, and commitment within the workforce. To learn more or to invite Elise to speak to your organization, please visit her at elisecortez.com. Let's talk about how to get your employees working on purpose. This is Working on Purpose with Dr. Elise Cortez. To reach our program today or to open a conversation with Elise, send an email to Elise, A-L-I-S-E, at elisecortez.com. Now, back to Working on Purpose.
Thanks for staying with us and welcome back to Working on Purpose. I'm your host, Dr. Elise Cortez, as I am dedicated to helping create a world where organizations thrive because their people thrive. They're led by inspirational leaders that help them find and contribute their greatness. And we do business that betters the world. I keep researching and writing my own books. So one of my latest came out. It's called The Great Revitalization, How Activating Meaning and Purpose Can Radically Enliven Your Business. And I wrote it to help leaders understand today's very diverse and discerning workforce. What do they want from you to give their best and stick around? And then I provide you 22 best practices to provide that for them through your leadership and your culture. You can find my books on Amazon or anywhere else you would find books. If you are just now joining us, my guest is Jody Thompson. She's the co-author of Why Work Sucks and How to Fix It, The Results Only Revolution. So I think it's really important that people understand just where this came from. I think it's really, really a fascinating thing about the history of this and how long you've been at this. And I think it will help our listeners and viewers understand just where it was born. And that was your and Kelly's work at Best Buy, if you want to give us the story there.
Yep. So when I was at Best Buy, I was a change agent. So I worked on large-scale organizational change. And Callie was in work-life programs. And she was tasked with, how do we create a flexible workplace, across the entire 5,000 people at Best Buy Corporate. And so she reached out, she got me as a change agent, and we got together and we started to really think about the idea of flexibility, which is a managed program. And as we talked to people and as we dug into it more, we started to think, why are we managing people's time and location? We started to ask ourselves that question. And it was a profound question. Like, people are like, what are you talking about? So we stepped back and we said, we're gonna experiment with some teams. So there was a leader at that time, Mike Marold, who understood that people should have the ability to manage their own time, but his team was still using schedules. So we said, well, how about if we took those away? So we started this out in a way that we were pretty radical and pretty kind of a little crazy at first, until we really worked on sort of creating something that people could understand and could also move through as a team and come out the other side with autonomy and accountability. what was interesting about this at Best Buy is that the teams that moved into the results-only work environment through a series of modules that we created, their, results, engagement, all of the things that you look at in terms of, are people productive and are they happy, were off the charts. Mm-hmm. We've worked with organizations whose, turnover went down to 0. And so here's the thing, Elise, people will say, well, there's some turnover is good. How do you know that? Is that really true? I wonder if it isn't. So when you create an organization that has the ability to, have leaders that are actually coaches, not old school managers.
Taskmasters, yeah.
Right, exactly. Micromanagers and can actually coach people to do good work for the organization and the customer. Well, there's nothing like it. Mm-hmm. And I don't have to feel guilty, and we'll talk about this in a little while with Sludge, but I don't need to feel guilty about how I'm spending my time, which makes me even more dedicated and loyal to the organization. It's a gift.
I 100% understand that, because that's how I run my team. And just as one example, the person that helps me with communications and such, I mean, she started here in Dallas, and then where I'm at, and then she moved to another city, and we had an arrangement. I mean, this is what she's producing for me each week, and for us each week, and this is what it needs. And I loved it when she would call and say, I'm going to be unavailable for the next hour and a half because my husband has kidnapped me to go horseback riding. I'm like, yes, go, fantastic. And she comes back full of life. Everything that she does is infused with that joy and that passion. And she gets this big, beautiful, full life on her terms, high control. And I want that. We are all about living our culture of gusto, the ones that we're out to other organizations to do as well. And here's the best thing, listeners and viewers, as if that weren't all great as it was, I can set her deliverables by the clock. She doesn't miss her deliverables. But even better, I can't tell you the number of times just this one person I'm talking about has dazzled me with her output and her ideas and her contributions way beyond what I ask her to do. And that's unleashing the full human right there.
Right. And when every single person has that opportunity, you can imagine how powerful that is. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And what I like to say to leaders today, too, is we think of ourselves as physical beings. And that's how it's always been since the 50s, right? If I can't get a hold of you physically, then you're not working or you're not available or whatever that is. But really, we are a human being and we're digital. Yeah. So if you reach out to me, you don't need to get the physical me. You can get one of my superheroes, which I call them, my voicemail or my email or other ways to communicate. And you can reach out and let me know what you need and when you need it. And so if I, for example, decide that my work is looking good, I've communicated, what I need to communicate, not where I'm going. I just communicated about the work. And I decide to go to the beach for a couple hours, sit in the sand. Mm-hmm. I know that everybody around me is going to reach out to me, to my digital presence, and let me know what they need and when they need it. Mm-hmm. And not ask me like where I am. So it's an interesting, what I love what you're doing is you're empowering people to do those things that wouldn't normally be done during the day.
Right. And in our culture, of course, we want to celebrate that. I want her to do those things during the day because I want to be able to unleash this full human and give her that. As you say, I love this, so you're treated more like an adult than a child. Right. That you shouldn't have to be stressed out about time. She doesn't have to make, this is another thing you say in your book, she doesn't have to manufacture an excuse as to why she's not available. Right. There is no need for an excuse. I'm celebrating the excuse, if you will.
It's so good that you're doing that too, because we like to talk about socially acceptable or socially unacceptable excuses. Mm-hmm. Like if I want to, do something for a couple hours, I'll say I'm going to the dentist because that's socially acceptable. I'm not going to say I don't feel like working right now. That's not socially acceptable between 8 and 5. So people, that's part of the game that we play.
Yeah, that's right.
Excuses, but you're celebrating the idea that we're whole people, we're adults, we know our jobs, and we go do them, and we produce what we need to produce, and you're getting that. Mm-hmm. You're getting that.
Well, and that's why our whole thing, because partly as a logotherapist, logos is Greek for meaning, and meaning from that vantage point is all about the energy life force. So all we're really doing is just activating that fuller human that is full of energy and vitality, except when you suppress it by boxing it into this little narrow place and removing their capacity to re-energize themselves through the ways that they would normally do, like going out and riding horseback for an hour and a half on Friday morning.
I love that. I like to say we have to stop thinking outside the box. The box doesn't exist. That's where we need to start. It just doesn't exist. And that's very hard because we grow up watching our parents work and how people work, and collaboration has to happen face to face, and all those things are still in our belief system. And breaking that is very difficult. Deeply held beliefs about the way work needs to happen is a hard thing to break. So we have to have some grace with people and with managers. But I love to hear some of the things you're doing, because you're flipping that, right? You're not sitting people in the box. Box doesn't exist.
Right.
What you produce, and you're producing, and the deadline is the work. And if people are meeting deadlines,
that's right. That's right. And again, the beauty of it, and again, I can feel the unleashed energy in the work product. It literally dances. And so, okay, so let's get to these beliefs here. You have this really interesting, fun concept called sludge. So let's introduce sludge and talk about just what it is and how we can manage it. I love how you treat this in the book.
So sludge is the thing that holds work culture together. It's glue. And what it is it's making a judgment about how somebody else is spending their time to pull them back in. So an example of that, right. So an example might be, those people with kids, they always get to leave early. So right now we're saying they need to stay as long as I am, right? And I'm gonna get that out there so they feel bad and guilty. Or I might say, God, Elise, 10 o'clock and you're just getting in. I wish I could come in late every day. Or I might say, I didn't see you on Teams yesterday. Did you take a vacation day? So I become the judger, right, to make that other person feel guilty. And what we figured out was, first of all, different kinds of sludge, but we figured out a way to stop that in its tracks and create an environment where people talked about the work, not how people were spending their time. So if you, in a results-only work environment, which is autonomous and accountable, and you come and say to me, 10 o'clock and you're just getting in, I wouldn't go, I know, but my daughter was throwing up this morning, and then my dog and my this and that. I wouldn't make an excuse.
Right.
I would look at you and say, Elise, is there something you need? Because guess what? If you don't need anything, you're a big judger. If you do need something, ask me for it. You don't have to sludge me first. So what that created is a big space of, we talk about the work. And so now I know how to eradicate sludge. So if a sludger comes at me, I feel more powerful because I'm going to talk about the work. I'm going to talk about the work. You say that to me, I'm going to ask you what you need.
So a couple of things that I really want to pull out here so that our listeners and viewers get this. So by first giving this thing a name, this is a beast that lives in the organization here, this sludging that we do here. So now, and then you part of your methodology is that you help people learn that, start to call out all the, 100 ways, literally 100 ways that we sludge around here. Now it lives in more of a conscious level. Okay, now I can start to do something about this. Back on the 10 o'clock arrival thing. What they don't know is this person's been working at home since 6 a.m.
Right.
maybe. So now we're getting double judged here. It's just so gross. So I love that. I love that. First, if you say, we're gonna identify this thing called sludge, and let's start talking about all the ways we sludge around here. People will laugh about it and realize just how big it is. Now we have something to work with, and we can push back and say, hey Jody, I think you're sludging me there.
Right. And people do that.
Right. And now we can start to change the belief system of the organization. And this is when things start to change.
That's right. Change. And it's great because when people start to let go of that guilt that they feel, we all feel guilt. I had one leader say to me, I don't know what it is about that sludge, he said, but everybody in my team looks taller.
Yes.
I mean, I thought, well, that's interesting. But it's because people, when they let go of that burden of having to constantly be explaining, it's exhausting for people, and it's soul
Yes,
sucking.
I know. And that's again why we are all about trafficking in energy, Jody. I so get this. And then here's where it gets even more beautiful. You say in your book that when there is no sludge, it's harder for people or impossible even for people or organizations to reinforce that status quo. This is how we grind people into place. When there isn't sludge, or you hold it to be accountable and you call it out, then it helps you remove that status quo that you've been clinging to all this time. And now we have possibility for something new.
Absolutely. It just opens everything up. And I will say there are people, very, very small percentage, that just want to come in at 8 and stay till 5 and be busy. I say that in air quotes, because they feel comfortable there. In the results-only work environment, you can. That's how you want to do it, because nobody's going to judge your time, but you still have to be accountable to results. So you can't really hide. You can't hide. You have to step forward and you have to talk to your results coach and say, I'm not really clear about where I'm going here. Let's talk about that. Not, I wanted to let you know my schedule for the week, and I'm going to come in at 8 every day and blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. What's the work?
I thought that was one of the many powerful things you have in your book, that for the people that maybe have bought into the idea of, I've learned the game and I know how to coast, they won't make it in a results only environment.
No, they won't. And sometimes people say, well, what do you mean results only? So we can't have any fun. We can't,
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And what I've learned through this is people actually are more bonded, because what they're bonded on is the purpose and the outcome of what their team is doing and what they're doing. And because they're not judging each other and playing the game, they feel closer to each other. I mean, we've actually said that. One person said to me, I never wanted to go to happy hour with my team. And she goes, now I do. Now I want to see them at different times. And now that the time clock blew up, we have space for those relationships.
Right.
And we don't have to feel like, oh, you always say those nasty things to me. So,
right. Why would I want to socialize with you after hours or whatever?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. I'm going to go home to my family. So
find some solace.
That's right. So I think you nailed it on the head, Elise, when you talk about what's possible and what's possible, what's human, what's possible for people. And what's possible when you have this kind of power inside an organization where the people really are present, not in the office, not a present location, but present to the work.
Present, and plugged in and turned on. Yeah.
Yes, exactly right. And living their lives. We must remember that we have a whole life, right?
Yes. All right. Let's let our listeners chew on that possibility. Stand in that space, listeners and viewers. Just imagine that possibility. If you're a leader, if you're somebody working inside an organization, I want you to stand in that possibility while we go on this next break. I'm your host, Dr. Elise Cortez. We've been on the air with Jody Foster, who is known for helping companies rethink workplace culture, leadership, and performance in ways that drive stronger results and lasting change. We've been hearing us talk about some of the things that have been stopping this whole movement here. After the break, we're going to peel back even further how you can start to get into what she calls results-only workplace environment guideposts that will help you really undo this thing on its head. We'll be right back.
Dr. Elise Cortez is a management consultant specializing in meaning and purpose, an inspirational speaker and author. She helps companies visioneer for greater purpose among stakeholders and develop purpose-inspired leadership and meaning-infused cultures that elevate fulfillment, performance, and commitment within the workforce. To learn more or to invite Elise to speak to your organization, please visit her at elisecortez.com. Let's talk about how to get your employees working on purpose. This is Working on Purpose with Dr. Elise Cortez. To reach our program today or to open a conversation with Elise, send an email to Elise, A-L-I-S-E, at elisecortez.com. Now, back to Working on Purpose.
Thanks for staying with us and welcome back to Working on Purpose. I hope you enjoyed that little stew that you had in this last break, thinking about possibility. I'm your host, Dr. Elise Cortez. As you know by now, this program is dedicated to empowering and inspiring you along your journey to realize more of your potential. If you'd like to learn more about where you are in the Gusto leadership spectrum, one way to do that is go to LinkedIn, find me, Elise Cortez, scroll down to the featured section, and you will find the Gusto leadership spectrum assessment. And while you're there, connect with me as well. You'll learn a lot about yourself and other possibilities in your own development. If you are just now joining us, my guest is Jody Thompson. She's the co-author of Why Work Sucks and How to Fix It, the Results Only Revolution. So these 13 guideposts are, if you look at these things just from the outside and you didn't know much like you and I are more steeped in, you would really start laughing, right?
Yes.
And I know that's your whole point. And it works great. And there's just a few, I don't want to go through all 13 because that would take too long. And there's other things I want us to talk about, but I would like to give our listeners and viewers a flavor. There's a few that I think are pretty fun to talk about, but do you have a couple favorites that you want to talk about?
Oh, I do have two favorites.
Well, let's hear them.
One is, so first of all, let me just say to your listeners that the 13 guideposts are aspirational goals. When you reach those goals, you're closer to autonomy and accountability. Each one of them helps you get closer to that idea of autonomy and accountability. So one of my favorites is every day feels like Saturday.
That's one of my favorites too.
So people go crazy. They say, well, every day isn't Saturday. I know it isn't. But in a row, every day feels like Saturday because on Saturday, who controls your time? You do. Nobody's sludging you and telling you when you need to do the laundry and how long the laundry needs to take and, when you need to empty the dishwasher. So every day feels like Saturday means every day of the week, I control all of my time. That's what that means. And so to make every day feels like Saturday true, we have to build on autonomy and accountability at the same time, because we need to understand what my role is and how I'm achieving that through measurable results. My other favorite one is every meeting is optional. So I can see, people's skins falling off their arms and face, when they hear that, they're just like, no, some meetings are mandatory. Well, here's the thing. If you have a clear outcome for your meeting, and everybody agrees that meeting is the best way to get to that, then people will show up. You don't have to say mandatory.
Right.
But what we do, and I ask this everywhere, when you look at your time in meetings during the week, 100% of your time, meetings, all your meetings, how much of that time is wasted? And people tell me 50%, 80%, 90%. Wasted time because might be an agenda, but there's no outcome. It's not helping me do my work better. It's filling time, and I could have been doing something to actually do my work, and you're wasting my time. So what's been interesting about every meeting is optional is people are standing up and asking the meeting organizer, why are we meeting? What's the outcome? How do I need to prepare? What do we expect to happen in this meeting to help us do our work better? And when we start asking those questions, the meeting organizer might go, was there a better way for us to do this? Yes, there is. Here's how we can do it. And so what it does, again, is it opens up people's minds to how can we all achieve what we need to achieve in a way that's good for all of us?
Yeah.
And not feel like another meeting that I have to go to that I already know is a waste of my time.
Well, and when so many people already, their whole lives, what people tell me when we're working in organizations is, well, here's my schedule. It's all back-to-back meetings. And then I'll do my work afterwards, because that's when I can get it done. Yeah, I'll do my work afterwards when I actually have space in my life. I hear this all the time. So I love that the idea that meetings are optional. Okay, go ahead.
I want to just say to people out there, the reoccurring meeting, I need everybody to look at that on their calendars, because why are you having a reoccurring meeting? Yeah. Ask yourself that. Anyway, keep going, Elise.
So it just goes by so fast, and there's more I want to extract out of you. So I want to get, since this whole notion, this is a thought leadership platform that advances the conversation on creating what we call these destination workplaces and these inspirational leaders help people, find and deliver their greatness. And so you've already said how outdated that we've been using this work model since the 50s. We're talking 75 years later, ladies and gentlemen and folks. So we really need to, start looking at, can we start looking at this finally? Can we start doing this? So you say in your book that, when you introduce the idea of what you call a ROWE environment, and that is short for results only work environment, ROWE, you get two kinds of reactions. And I want to talk about those. Some people immediately get it and they're like, yeah, this makes great. It's relentlessly pragmatic. And then you have other people that are like, this is the most doomsday, ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And let's talk about both of those. So who gets it and what do they see in this possibility?
So what's so interesting about that is the people that are excited about it, managers, let's say, that are excited about it, this is how they want to lead, but they're in a system that doesn't allow that.
Yeah.
They have to play by the rules of the system. So if they start going rogue, the organization is going to pull them back in like a giant hairball. We don't allow people to blah, blah, blah. So I call it the giant hairball. There's a book about that, by the way.
Yes, I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's a really good one. So when you try to act outsider, I call off culture, you'll get pulled back in. And these leaders are like, oh, this is the answer. This is what was inside, kind of in my soul, but I didn't know how to do it. And you're bringing in a process to help us do it. Okay, so that's one side. The other side is the fear. I think people, when they hear about it, they have a fear of not being able to actually do the job they're supposed to do, right? Either they're flying under the radar, or they're really good at micromanaging, or they don't know how to manage the results. So there's kind of an area there where it's fear-based, not really based on what the possibilities are, any of that. It's just an instant, you sort of putting up your barrier to, I can't be in something like this. Now, we find on leadership teams is you'll get 30% of the leaders bring it on. You'll get 30% of them going, not in my company. And then you've got people on the fence in the middle. So usually there's enough pull to start adopting an idea like this through training, of course, and bring people along that might have that fear that they're not going to be able to perform in this kind of environment.
I want to extend this a bit, and I want to do this for our listeners and viewers in a way that they receive, as you and I both know, is called carefrontation, because I want this conversation to be provocative. I want you to question your ideals, why you do the things that you do. So what I would put forth, based on other authors that I have had on this program talking about some of these same things, is there's a few other contributing factors that are on the doomsayer side, the say no can do side. And what some of those are is if I don't have this control, people won't do the work. They don't want to work. People are lazy. And this whole idea of, work is inherently an icky thing that people have to do. And so if I don't, nail their derriere to the seat, they're not going to do it. I want you all to really, listeners and viewers, to really think about the way you think about work and accountability and such. You were going to say, Jody?
Yes, I was going to say, it's not the work that sucks.
Right.
It's the way that we're forced to do it.
Yes, right. And so that's the stuff, these underlying beliefs that are driving all of these crazy, silly, backwards assumptions. I need you, part of what Jody's work is, and so is ours, is to help illuminate those mindsets and how they're working, in some cases for you, and many cases against you. But you got to first start by understanding what's making you think that this will never work.
Right, and that's that belief system we talked about, Elise. And I believe that if people are in the office, they're working. I believe that if I'm not there managing by walking around, they won't work. People will work. People want to do a good job. They want to, but they have to have the right environment, like you and I talk about, in order to help them flourish. And getting rid of sludge is a big first step. And
right.
Managers out there saying, is everybody on my team clear about measurable results? Are they clear about the work? Ask myself that.
Yes. And one thing I also want to reinforce here that you have in your book that we also see when we do our work with organizations is that when you allow this kind of autonomy that you talk about, accountability and autonomy, and you extend this to people, now what happens is people are actually more responsible rather than less, because now they're being rewarded with freedom and they don't want to lose that. And that trust that you're extending them is delicious for them. And that is something, now you're treating them like an adult instead of a child. So now you get this increased responsibility and leaning in and this willingness to help fellow team members to get work done because of all of this condition that you've provided for your people. And it is so beautiful.
It is. People don't want to lose this. Once they have it, they will work, not harder in the sense of how we thought about it in the 50s, but they'll work to make sure that they're delivering, and they'll help their teammates with it too. Because nobody wants to lose it. That idea that I can own all of my time. And that doesn't mean I don't go to a meeting or I don't have to, show up to open the door at a restaurant. It doesn't mean that. It means that I'm the driver of me.
Right. I'm the CEO of my own life. Yes.
That's right. And everybody can be that. And if people can't, for example, they know what their results are and they've talked about it with their results coach and they still can't achieve it, then we have a performance issue.
Right.
So it's performance conversations really all the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the other thing I want to reinforce about what you say in your book here. For a row environment to work, for a row culture to work, it means more and good, better communication with your coworkers, your boss, your upper management. So getting more specific about, well, what do I actually need you to deliver? Otherwise, that's part of the problem is I just tell you to get the job done. Well, what's the actual job? What do you actually need me to deliver? And so what I really appreciate is that you're also saying that, now managers become more coaching versus taskmasters. We're communicating, the value of what we're doing as well as how we want people to do their work, or, actually produce their work. What does good look like? And most organizations, as you say, they don't do that because they rely on being able to pop in to their cube or whatever and say, oh, I forgot to tell you this, or, oh, I actually mean this. So I think it's really critical that we say that to be effective in a row environment, we have to up our game in communication.
We absolutely have to. And I like to give people this one small example. If I say to you, Elise, are you going to be in tomorrow? I ask you that question. Now, for you, in a results-only work environment, you'd be like, well, first of all, I'm in because I'm on the planet, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. Of course I'm in.
Right. And I don't know where I need to be physically if I don't know what you want or need. So we start off by trying to find out where people are or what time they're working, instead of saying, here's what I need. Let's talk about when we can do that. Or let's talk about how I can get that. It's not starting out with time and location. It's starting out with just having a conversation with somebody about what you need from them. And then they can decide where their body needs to be at that time.
Right. And I talk about that too in one of my last books too, is, get rid of the where work gets done. We don't have time to talk about this, but I just want to say this to listeners and viewers. There are several really great examples that Jody and her co-author talk about in the book that have gone to a row environment. And one of them, of course, is Girl Scouts of San Gorgonio Council. Anyway, I just want to pick up the darn book, read this thing. It's got just all kinds of stuff that's going to make you really think differently about yourself, your company, your leadership, and possibilities. So I want to thank you, Jody, for writing the book, doing the work that you do. We are so aligned. It's crazy. And I love to have you on today. So thank you for coming on.
It's been my pleasure.
Maybe say in like 20 seconds, what would you like to leave our listeners and viewers with?
I would just like to say that the world is moving pretty fast and the world is changing. And we have the technology to do things differently and be better. Focus on what matters. The work and your life.
Beautiful way to close, Jody. Thank you. Listeners and viewers, you are going to want to learn more about Jody Thompson, the work that she and her team do at Culture RX, and her books, including Why Work Sucks. So start by visiting their website. It's just simply gorow.com. Let me spell that for you. It's GOROWE.com, gorow.com. Last week, if you missed the live show, you can always catch it via recorded podcast. We were on air with Susan McKenty Brady, a leadership educator, executive coach, and CEO of Simmons University Institute for Inclusive Leadership. A Wall Street journalist, best-selling author, Susan's work focuses on the human side of leadership, emphasizing self-awareness, connection, and the relational skills that drive performance. We talked about her newest book, All the Difference, 6 Leadership Actions to Bridge Perspectives, Strengthen Teams, and Create Value, which is all about harnessing your difference intelligence to unite your team and create dynamic results through their uniqueness. Next week, we'll be on air with Opal Malden-Jones. She's the city manager of the city of Lancaster. That's a Dallas suburb. We'll be talking about her approach over the last 9 years to intentionally develop her 320 employees, teach them emotional intelligence, and seek more ways to give greater access to their community for jobs while also elevating the quality of life for the residents they serve. See you then. Let's continue leaning in to help more people flourish, elevate your operating system as a leader, and create destination workplaces where legendary business takes place. Let's work on purpose.
We hope you've enjoyed this week's program. Be sure to tune into Working on Purpose, featuring your host, Dr. Elise Cortez, each week on W4CY. Together, we'll create a world where business operates conscientiously, leadership inspires impassioned performance, and employees are fulfilled in work that provides the meaning and purpose they crave. See you there. Let's work on purpose.